Well, 1 can be considered a fluke, 2 a coincidence, 3 is a trend. So welcome to the trend-setting episode of What You Gonna Queue. For you new viewers, What You Gonna Queue is a weekly video show in which we highlight some of the best titles that Netflix has to offer, broken down into 3 categories. New to Netflix, where we recommend a new release most worth checking out right away. What the F is This, where we delve into the obscure or overlooked titles buried in the annals of Netflix. And For Your Consideration, where the recommended titles tie into a timely, predetermined cinematic theme.
My name is Alex Rabinowitz, and I am a co-host.
And my name is Jim Roner, and I am also, surprisingly, a co-host. And so, Alex, somebody approached me on the street the other day, and after they mistook me for Hilary Swank, they asked me, 1, is the DVD giveaway still going on? And 2, what was the answer to last week's question?
Well, I'm hoping you said, why, yes, I am Hilary Swank, and then signed a signed picture of yourself for them. And then said, yes, of course the DVD giveaway is still going on. It is going on for the entire month of October. Last week, Jim had a quote, and the answer to that quote was from 7.
What's in the box?
This week, we're going to have another one. And all you have to do is pay attention at the end of the episode, listen to what the quote is, and then tweet at us and tell us what movie it's from. Any more housekeeping, or can we get into it?
I think we can get right into it, Alex.
My pick for a new release is How to Train Your Dragon, an animated twist on the Boy and His Dog story. Written and directed by Dean DuBlois and Chris Sanders, it was presented by DreamWorks Animation and features voice work from Jay Baruchel, Gerard Butler, Craig Ferguson, and America Ferrara. Sublimely animated and surprisingly well crafted, Dragon tells a story of a misfit Viking who befriends a fallen, injured dragon. The only problem? Dragons and Vikings are sworn enemies.
I kind of avoided this movie when it first came out, doing probably the foolish thing, assuming that it was a children's film. But then the reviews started coming out, and it seemed like it was so much more than that.
The best Pixar movies, the best Disney movies from their golden age really are for everyone, and this is in that grand tradition.
Right.
It's well animated, well crafted, and it's got this surprising story, and it's got a ton of heart, just a lot of heart, and it's a really touching, exciting film.
One of the reasons, in retrospect, why I also avoided it was because of that tag of 3D.
This is an example of 3D done right, in that it was originally created in 3D. It wasn't a post-conversion.
Okay.
They're just beautiful action sequences and flight sequences over gorgeous landscapes, Nordic setting. It's a really beautiful thing to look at.
So I guess what else is there to this movie? What makes this more than just, a fun, family-friendly children's film?
The story, for one. There are a lot of surprising beats. It's very engaging, it moves well, the characters are relatable. The voice acting that infuses the characters is great as well. There's some strong comedic performances turned out. Kristen Wiig, Jonah Hill, Craig Ferguson, they do minor but memorable work. And then you just have, it doesn't really pander to either side.
Craig Ferguson, I think, is hilarious, and what self-respecting man doesn't have a little bit of a crush on Kristen Wiig? So you recommended a big budget, big studio CGI film, so I feel it's my duty now to do the exact opposite and recommend something foreign and obscure here in section 2. My pick for section 2 is Timecrimes, and Timecrimes is, as the title implies, a crime story involving time travel, written and directed by Spanish filmmaker Nacho Vigolando, and starring a whole bunch of Spanish language actors I'm guessing you've never heard of. The story revolves around a man named Hector, who upon investigating the scene of a crime, meets a man with a machine that sends him 1 hour back in time.
So time travel is not a new thing for film and by any means, or fiction for that matter. What's new and different about this?
Right, well, this is certainly doesn't have as grand a scale as some time travel movies. And what I mean when I say that is that it's a very intimate story. Really just, there's 4 characters in this entire film. And Vigolando has said that in Timecrimes, he really wanted to use time travel as a device for a man to be able to physically and literally face himself. Okay. So not just, trying to go back in time and right some wrongs like Marty McFly did, or trying to go back in time and prevent the impending robot apocalypse like in Terminator. But this is just a way for kind of a man to explore his own intricacies, his own faults in a very literal way.
Yeah, so it's much more about the human drama.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's very character-driven. Vigolando said that for Timecrimes, a lot of his influences were hard-boiled James Caan novels, films from Brian De Palma, Alfred Hitchcock.
What are the rules in this time travel?
Right. But this one is very simple. He said he wanted to base the time travel on logic instead of physics. And it seems like a ridiculous idea because there is no physics of time travel because it doesn't exist. I think. You know, let's say you're walking down the street and you see a garbage can that's tipped over. You go back in time for an hour and you see that garbage can is up. You know that it's going to get knocked down eventually. So do you do it because you forgot about it, or do you do it because you know that has to happen for a series of events to follow? If that makes any sense at all. I think I just confused myself a little bit.
What movie are we talking about again?
And with that, let's go right into section 3. So about a year ago, Paramount Pictures answered the demands of hundreds of thousands of people across the country and unleashed Paranormal Activity to great critical acclaim in the tune of something like $107 million. It's a lot of money, right? So in honor of that phenom of a film, and this weekend Paranormal Activity 2 comes out, our theme for your consideration this week is going to be found footage films. And for those of you who may not know what found footage is, it's just films that are put together in a documentary style of footage that literally looks like it could have just been found and compiled. So, Alex, would you like to find our first recommendation? No, that was terrible.
Afterschool is a dark, modern coming-of-age story written and directed by Antonio Campos. It stars Michael Stuhlbarg, Ezra Miller, and Addison Timlin. In the film, Miller plays Robert, a troubled, internet-addicted youth, uncomfortable and isolated at his boarding school. In an attempt to connect, he joins the AV Club, but while shooting a video yearbook assignment, inadvertently captures the graphic overdose of 2 students.
Yeah, and the cool thing about this film is that there are certainly found footage elements, but it's not entirely a found footage film. It's really cool how Campos kind of really works those 2 elements in together.
If you're thinking of found footage and this mockumentary style, your mind might immediately go to something like Paranormal Activity, Blair Witch Project, Cloverfield, what have you. And this doesn't do that shaky cam, gimmicky thing where it's all first person, but it uses the idea and the theme of found footage in its story, and that is literally with the main character, Robert, finding footage of a very traumatic thing.
Yeah, and even on a surface level, this is kind of mimicking that sort of YouTube feel, because a lot of the scenes, not all of them, but a lot of the scenes in this film are a stationary camera, sometimes shot at a distance with no zoom, and sometimes the characters aren't even really in frame. They're off frame, their heads are cut off. Yeah. And it's eerie how Campos can so kind of use that aesthetic to quite a shocking result. And there's just this kind of awkwardness that permeates every single scene in this movie, including features one of the most awkward and unerotic lovemaking scenes since I made that film in spring break. My film that I will be recommending is called The St. Francisville Experiment. And 2 years after the phenom that would become known as the Blair Witch Project, 4 supposedly real youths go on their own supernatural investigation of a supposedly haunted house in a ghostly hotspot of St. Francisville, Louisiana. So in the interest of full disclosure, this film has its fair share of campy and really cheesy moments. It says that it's real. It's not. It's clearly a scripted mockumentary, as we were talking about before. But the really cool thing about it is that at its core, it's based to some degree on reality. I mean, what these people are doing are investigating the house of an actual historical figure, Madame LaLaurier, who lived in the 19th century and kind of was infamous for mistreatment of slaves. Let me just read to you a laundry list of some of the things that she was supposedly accused of. So here we go. We got she was accused of makeshift sex change operations, brains stirred with sticks, women nailed to the floors by their intestines, tongues sewn together, and human crabs, in parentheses, in which a slave has had their limbs cut off and placed back on in reverse positions. Well, none of that is in the film. But they pretend to be investigating the house of this woman that was responsible for these atrocities. So of course, someone like that, there's going to be a lot of, paranormal happenings around.
Oh, okay, all right.
So the last 15 minutes of this film, I feel, is so creepy and so just like skin crawling, because One of the things that the Blair Witch Project was kind of criticized for when it first came out was that you didn't see anything. It was all kind of based on what you didn't see.
Yeah.
This one, I would say they really don't disappoint. That, you know, you see the things that are supposedly tormenting these people, and I think it's really kind of a shock and really kind of crazy when it first does happen, and it's really effective, I'd say.
Now, what happened to this this awful despot woman?
Unfortunately, the more grand guignol stories of her have really no historical basis. But back in the 19th century, actually, 2 slaves that she had chained in her kitchen actually burnt her house down, and she ended up fleeing Louisiana, and she was never heard from again. The other reason that this film is kind of cool is that it kind of plays into that, because they claim to be investigating the house that she fled to. So it's almost like they're inventing their own kind of history in a way.
Sure.
They're kind of playing off, you know, the unspoken history, the things that people haven't talked about. And if nothing else, in 2007, Nicolas Cage's real estate company purchased LaLaurier's old house, so you know it's got to be creepy.
How'd it get burned? How'd it get burned?
Well, that wraps it up for week 3. Once again, guys, thanks for watching. If you want to contact us or communicate with us, you can reach us through all the relevant channels, email, Facebook, Twitter, and we'll get to all that information later. And for those of you who are waiting for the free DVD giveaway, I'm a $1,000 a day newspaper man, but you can have me for nothing.